Hello, Algebra 2, Part 1. This is the second day of 661. So this is, in this section, we're solving for a given variable. And so the equations that we're working with have a lot of variables in them. And so when we isolate these variables, our answers include a lot of variables for that reason. And we're not really working with a whole lot of numbers or doing a lot of arithmetic. So just doing PEMDAS and backwards PEMDAS on variables. So this is the second day doing this, so it's the same processes as last class. We might try to get into a few more complicated ones today, but we'll just get into some classwork and going through a bunch of examples. So for number 1, we have s equals pi r times r minus I, and so we have to solve for I. So what I'm going to do, the variable that I want to solve for, I'll circle in red. And so in this case, it's locked up in parentheses. And so first thing I need to do is unlock those parentheses. And I can do that by dividing both sides by pi r. So when I do that, those pi and r will cancel on the right. So then I'm left with s over pi r equals r minus I. Okay, and so then I can subtract r. So now I have s over pi r minus r equals a negative I. And I want a positive I. So to make that a positive I, what I could do is I could multiply everything by a negative 1. So on the left side, when I distribute that negative 1, that'll flip my signs. So I'll have a negative, whoops, change colors here. I'll have a negative s over pi r plus r equals my positive I. And you can leave it like that. You would get full credit, and that's perfectly fine. Or if you like to have your positives first, you could rewrite this as positive r minus s over pi r equals I. And that's also completely correct. All right, so going on to number 2. For number 2, we have A equals P over 1 minus C. And the directions are to solve for C. So I'll circle that in red. Okay, so for this one, C is locked up in our denominator. And one way we could start this is we could turn that A into an A over 1. So now we have one fraction on either side. Okay, and what we could do is we could cross multiply. So if I cross multiply, let's see, I'll get A times 1 minus C, and then on the other side, I'll get a capital P. So my C is still locked up in the parentheses, and one way I could deal with that is I could divide both sides by A, and that'll unlock my parentheses. So the A will cancel on the left, so then what we're left with is 1 minus C equals P over A. And remember, we're trying to get C by itself. So I could go ahead and subtract 1 from both sides. So now that'll give me a negative C equals P over A minus 1. And then similar to the last problem, I'll go ahead and multiply both sides by a negative 1. So I have a positive C. So on the left, that'll give me a positive C. And then on the right, if I distribute that negative, I have negative P over A plus 1. And again, you can leave it like that, and I would give you full credit, or you could go ahead and flip and write this as a positive 1 minus P over A. And that's also completely correct. All right, so let's go on to number 3. For number 3, we have, let's see, R equals C minus S over T. And the directions are to solve for S. Okay, so this is another example of a case where we could turn the R into an R over 1, and we have C minus S over T, and we could go ahead and cross multiply. And so if we cross multiply, we'll get RT equals C minus S, right? And we're solving for S, so then I can subtract C from both sides. Whoops, I should have done that in green to show the step that I was doing. So yeah, we can subtract c from both sides. So then that'll give us RT minus c equals a negative s. And then again, we want a positive s, so we can go ahead and multiply both sides by a negative 1, right? And so we distribute that negative 1 across on the left, and that'll flip our signs. So we'll get a negative RT plus C equals a positive S. And you can leave it like that and get full credit, or if you want to have your positives first, you can rewrite this as a positive C minus RT equals S. Okay, same thing, and it also gets you full credit. Going on to number 4. For number 4, we have A is 1/2 H times b sub 1 plus b sub 2. And for this problem, they want us to solve for h, okay? So, well, the first thing that we could get rid of is that 1/2. And how we could get rid of 1/2 is we could multiply both sides by the reciprocal of it, which is 2 over 1. So if I multiply both sides by 2 over 1, on the left, I will get 2a. And then on the right, well, if I multiply by the reciprocal, that'll cancel the 2. So then I'll have h times b sub 1 plus b sub 2. And remember, we want to get h by itself. So, well, this is just, we only have one more step to go. H is being multiplied by that chunk in parentheses. So then what we could do is just divide by that chunk in parentheses. So I'm going to divide both sides by the parentheses b sub 1 plus b sub 2. And then on the right, that'll cancel. So then what I'm left with is 2a over b sub 1 plus b sub 2 is h. And that's our answer, and we're all done. All right, going on to number 5. So for number 5, we have PV equals nRT. And in this problem, we're solving for t. So this problem is really nice because t is only locked up in multiplication. And the easy way to undo multiplication is just with division. So we want to get rid of the n and the r, so we'll divide both sides by n and r. And so on the right side, that'll cancel those. And so what we'll be left with is PV over nr equals t. And that's it, and we're all done. So that was a nice, simple one-step problem. All right, number 6. So for number 6, we have I equals 1 over r times v. And we have to get r by itself, okay? Now this might look kind of crazy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simplify some things, consolidate some things, and turn this into one fraction on either side of the equal sign. So this I on the left side, we could rewrite that as an I over 1, okay? And then on the right side, well, if we consolidate these two things, this v right here, that could just go up here and be in that numerator. And so the right side, we could rewrite that as v over r. And remember, we're trying to get the r by itself. Okay, so we just kind of rearrange some things so we have one fraction on either side of the equal sign. So now we can go ahead and cross multiply, and if I do that, I'll get IR equals 1v, or just v. And remember, we want to get r by itself. So it's only locked up in multiplication, so I can go ahead and divide both sides by I. So now I can say that r is v over I, and I'm all done. All right, going on to number 7. So for number 7, we have S is 1/2 times A plus B plus C, and the directions are to solve for A. So A is locked up in those parentheses. So the first thing we have to do is unlock those, and we can do that by getting rid of that 1/2. So we've got to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of that, or 2 over 1. Okay, so if we multiply both sides by 2 over 1, well, on the right side, those 2's will cancel. And so then what we'll be left with on the right side is just A plus B plus C. And then on the left side, we'll have 2S. And remember, what we're trying to get by itself is the A. Okay, so then our last two steps, subtract B and subtract C. So then what we have now is 2s minus b minus c equals a. And we're all set. All right, let's go on to number 8. So for number 8, we have t equals fm minus gm, and the directions are to solve for f. Okay, so f is only in one term here. So what we could do is the one term that includes f, get that by itself, and everything else that does not include f, we can move it to the other side. So what I'll do is I'll add gm to both sides. So I'll get t plus gm equals fm. And remember, we're trying to get f by itself. So now f is tied up in multiplication, and so we can get rid of the m by dividing both sides by m. Okay, and so on the left we'll be left with t plus gm over m, and then on the right we'll have f. And so we got f by itself. We're all set, and that's it. So that's it for the classwork for this homework assignment. So hopefully that helps you out, and you can go ahead and try the homework, try the completion and the accuracy problems.